Real saving is the bedrock of any financial plan. Now, you might have heard of Warren Buffett, one of the most well-known investors in the world, and one of my favorite sayings of his is, it's not just sitting there waving your wealth goodbye. Now, I've been wondering whether you've been wondering if you're actually doing the right things with your money. You've probably been told to either save it or invest it, but no one ever really tells you which one's right for you and why. And here's the thing, folks, choosing the wrong direction for your hard-earned cash could actually be holding you back financially. So in this video, we're going to clear up the confusion around saving versus investing once and for all, I hope. So I'm going to show you the truth behind these two important strategies. I'm going to tell you what they really mean, when to use each, and why doing the wrong one at the wrong time could cost you big time in the long run. Now, this isn't just theory, folks. This is the practical truth learned over 40 years worth of being in financial services. UK specific financial insight you can actually use. So whether you're trying to get your first savings account in order, or you're thinking about putting money into a stocks and shares ISA or a pension, you're going to walk away from this with a clearer understanding of what is what and a decent plan, I hope. Now, if you want clear guidance on your next steps, you are in the right place. This is what we specialize in. But don't just take my word for it. Watch the full video and see if it speaks to you. If it does, we'd be thrilled to start a conversation, and you'll find a link in the comments below to book your free financial review and get all the details. Right, enough of that. Let's get on it. So first up, let's talk about saving. And I don't just mean throwing spare change into a jar at the end of the month, although to be fair, I do that, and it is certainly worth doing. Real saving is the bedrock of any financial plan, and in the UK, when we talk about saving, we're typically referring to putting money into a savings account. And that might be a cash ISA or even something like premium bonds, hoping for the big win, although I've never actually heard anybody win the biggie. These are places where your money is secure and easy to access when you need it. The purpose of saving is actually pretty simple. It protects you from life's unexpected moments. If the boiler breaks, if your car fails its MOT, if the washing machine explodes, if your job situation suddenly changes and you're off work for a wee bit while you find something else, that emergency fund can actually be the difference between calm and chaos. So saving is also perfect for short-term goals, things like planning a wedding, looking to buy your first car, you might want to take a big holiday, or actually you might just save generally for holidays every year, which is actually what I do. Now, saving gives you the certainty that the money will be there when you need it without worrying about market ups and downs. But here's the problem, and it is a big one. Whilst your money might feel safe in a savings account, and it will be, over time it's slowly being eaten away by inflation. Let's say you've saved up £10,000 and you've had it in an easy access account. It's a pretty standard amount for lots of people. A quick Google search this morning suggests that the average savings rate in the UK is just over 2% per annum gross. That's before tax. Now, if inflation is running around 2.5%, which Google this morning suggests it is, well, that £10,000 is actually losing value in real terms every single year. So in reality, your money's buying power is actually shrinking. That means that it's not keeping up with the price of eggs. So whilst saving is essentially for stability, it doesn't help you grow your wealth. You're staying afloat, yes, absolutely. You're safe, you're secure with your cash, but you're not really moving forward. I think that point's really important, and that's where investing comes in. So let's talk about investing. This is where your money starts to work properly for you. It's not just sitting there waving your wealth goodbye. Investing means putting your money into assets other than cash. Assets that have got the potential to deliver a better return than cash over the longer term. Assets like stocks and shares, property, precious metals, or investing in a business. That could be the stock market, it could be a diversified investment fund, it could be government or corporate bonds, or even property, or it could be a property fund. Well, in the UK, one of the most common ways to start investing is through a stocks and shares ISA or a pension. Parents often do it for kids at an early age, for example, because over the 15-20 years of the kids grown up, it can do really well. Both of those come with tax advantages that can help your money grow faster. We've recently posted a video going into a lot more detail on that, so be sure to check it out. Now, investing does come with risk, and that's a word you'll hear quite a lot when you talk about investing, and so you should. It's part of the deal. deal. Markets go up and down, all assets go up and down, apart from maybe cash, which just hovers along the middle line and goes up a bit when you get some interest. But most of the assets in the UK and the world, particularly equities, go up and down in value. The value of your investments can fall as well as rise, and there are no guarantees. But the key, folks, is time. Over the long term, typically 5, 10, 15, 20 years, stock markets have historically delivered average annual returns in the region of 5 to 10% per annum before fees and inflation. So let's take that same £10,000 you were thinking about keeping in cash and instead invested in a low-cost global index fund inside of stocks and shares, ISA for example. If the market returns 7% annually on average, after 20 years, 10 grand would have turned into £40,000. Of course, investment growth isn't a straight line, but over time, the line you draw from the starting point to the current point ought to be steeper than any cash investment you could have had over the same timescale, and that's what history teaches us. And it's the power of compound growth. The returns you earn start earning returns themselves. That's easy for you to say, Brownie. But it only works if you leave the money alone, reinvest dividends and ride out those ups and downs, which will be many and plentiful. This is also where good financial advice comes in. An investment manager, a good one, will manage your funds and invest in investments to get you the best returns and react when the markets become volatile. Now, investing isn't about gambling or trying to pick the next hot stocks, the old buy low, sell high. It's a great theory. It's about long-term growth though. It's about diversification, and it's about patience. If you invest carefully and consistently, it can be one of the most powerful tools for building wealth available to you in the UK. Now, you might have heard of Warren Buffett, one of the most well-known investors in the world, and one of my favorite sayings of his is, the stock market is designed to transfer money from the impatient to the patient. Time is the investor's friend, but Billy Basics is making sure that you have the rest of your finances in order. And that brings us to the big question, I guess. How do you know whether to save or whether to invest? Well, saving and investing are not two versions of the same thing. They serve completely different purposes. Saving is about preservation and security. It's about protecting your money. You know it'll be there when you need it. Barclays Bank, their other banks are available, is not going anywhere. It's low risk, it's low return, it's highly accessible. Investing, on the other hand, is about growth. It's for money you don't need right away. It does involve risk, but risk means it going up and down in value. It's not the risk of losing all of your money when you invest in a UK FCA regulated investment. You've got loads of protections in place. It also comes with the opportunity for your money to grow significantly over time. Now, one of the most important factors to consider when you're choosing between the two is time. If you need the money in the next 6 months, 12 months, the next year, maybe the next 2 years, then saving as cash is the better option. But if you're not planning to touch the money for 3 to 5 years, or certainly longer than that, well, investing can help that money grow beyond inflation and potentially far beyond what any savings account can offer. Now, there's also liquidity. This is an important term. Savings, cash savings I'm talking about there, remember, are easy to access. You might tie it up for a year in a ISA bond or something like that, but generally it's not going to be unavailable for donkey's years. You can withdraw it pretty much any time without penalty. Investments will take longer to sell or could be worth less than you paid during a market downturn, so you need to match the tool to the job. Once you see that they're two completely different strategies and they're not competitors, they're not fighting, they're friends, it all starts to make sense. So let's make this really practical. You should save when you need certainty. If you're building an emergency fund, saving for that extension you've always wanted, you might be planning a holiday next summer, that money needs to be in a savings account, not in stocks and shares. It's not worth the risk of it falling in value just when you need to spend it. Generally, I might suggest that you should aim to have the equivalent of 3 times your monthly net salary in emergency cash-based holdings. Now, on top of that, you need to make sure you set funds aside monthly, be disciplined with your savings for the obvious costs such as holidays and Christmas. I know a lot of people put holidays on credit cards, but I don't advocate that, because if you do that and something happens with your job, how are you going to pay your credit card bills? So try and get into the habit of saving monthly for the things you know you're going to have to spend on in the next 12 months. I suppose that's tip of the day. Now, if you've got enough cash savings to be safe if things go wrong, you need to start investing in your longer term goals. If you're thinking about retirement, kids' education, maybe 10 years from now, or just building wealth for the future, generally that's where investing becomes the better tool. You can even start small. You know, if you're a bit younger and you haven't got a lot of disposable income, 25 quid a month into a diversified fund inside a stocks and shares ISA, for example, is a great way to start. Over time, those little contributions can grow into something really, really meaningful. What's important is that you don't choose one over the other by default. You choose based on your timeline, on your goals, and your understanding and acceptance of the risks involved. And remember, cash does come with risk. What is it? The risk of it not beating inflation. That's the risk. But both of these tools are essential, just at different times and for different reasons. Now let's talk about some of the common mistakes that people make, and of course how you, watching this, can avoid them. Well, one big mistake is thinking that saving alone is enough to build wealth. It isn't. Inflation will slowly erode your purchasing power. I've said this before, especially over decades. If you're relying entirely on savings, and I'm talking about cash savings there, I can't emphasize that enough. If you're relying on those for your retirement, you may find that your money doesn't go anywhere near as far as you thought it would, and you're missing a massive opportunity to get better returns over the long term. Now, another mistake is jumping into investing before you're ready. If you don't have any savings to fall back on and your car suddenly breaks down, you may be forced to sell your investments at the worst possible time. You might have to stick it on that credit card. You might be paying 19, 20, 30% a year in interest, and that's why having an emergency fund is step one. Then we've got the panic sell. When markets drop, it's really tempting to pull your money out. You get a big shock, you kind of sleep at night, you need to get that money out, but that really does lock in the losses that you've made, and they're just paper losses, remember, and it will miss the recovery. We've actually just done a YouTube on the Trump slump, as I believe it's being called, and actually when you look at funds now, they've recovered since that. So somebody probably did very well investing in the market at the bottom of it, because we're back there where we need to be now. So we're actually still seeing this even now. People are still worried, they're still panicking, and they're taking their money out of their investments. But like we tell our clients, history shows that markets do recover. The people who see the best returns tend to be the ones who stay invested. They stay consistent, they hold their nerve, and they ignore the noise, the day-to-day stuff that goes on to affect the markets. Think long term. Again, I'll mention investment managers. Their job is to manage those investments in good times and bad. Ours do that for our clients every single day, and it's vital for that support. And the final mistake I'm going to talk a little bit about today is ignoring pensions. In the UK, your workplace pension will include employer contributions and of course tax relief. That's free money. Now, not making the most of it is one of the biggest missed opportunities for long-term investing, and probably one of the silliest. So avoiding these mistakes, you're putting yourself in a much stronger financial position than most. So how do you actually balance saving and investing in real life? Well, you got to start by building your safety net. You got to aim for at least 3 months of essential expenses in an easy access savings account. This gives you the flexibility to handle emergencies without touching your investments. Once that's in place, you can begin investing for the longer term. Whether that's through a workplace pension, a SIP, or a stocks and shares ISA, start with what you can afford comfortably and build up from there. Review your finances at least once a month, I would say, because things change, your income, your expenses, your goals. You need to keep your finger on your own pulse there. Your financial plan should change as you do. The truth is, you don't have to be an expert to make this work. You just need a simple system. You need a bit of consistency, a bit of discipline, and the right strategy for your goals. You need to run your finances, and don't let your finances run you. Now, you know the difference between saving and investing now, I hope, and more importantly, when to use each one. You've seen how they work together, not against each other, and how you can avoid the most common financial traps. But there's one more question I do hear a lot, and it's a big one. What's better, Brownie? Is it paying off my mortgage or is it investing? Well, the answer might actually really surprise you. If you're a homeowner or you're planning to be, you need to watch this next. So click here, I'll break it down for you, and I want to see you there.